Blood on the Bayous is supported in part by Dr. B.B. Trotter from Abilene, Texas, and the Fort Butler Foundation. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Don Frazier, and we're continuing the story of the Civil War in Louisiana and Texas. We finally arrived at the first big showdown between U.S. forces and Confederates in the Sugar Parishes, in the Lafourche district. Now, Alfred Mouton is working at a big disadvantage. For starters, the Federals outnumber him 2-1. Weitzel has about 4,000 men, Mouton fewer than 2,000. Weitzel's troops were all green, very few veterans in his command, but Mouton's veterans are very few, and they're the survivors of the Battle of Shiloh. So they've been shot up, they're a little snake bit about combat, and it's anybody's guess on whether or not they will perform well under these long odds. In addition, Mouton's position is about the best he can make out of a bad situation. He has a bayou separating two wings of his army. One wing on the east bank has got some very unsteady troops with the 10th Louisiana Battalion, the Yellow Jackets, that have been folded in with the Confederate Guards Response Battalion into the 33rd Louisiana. It's an iffy unit. They're supplemented by the Terrebonne Parish Militia and some scouts and screen from the 2nd Louisiana Cavalry. It's the West Bank where he puts his best troops, the 18th and the 24th Louisiana Infantry, also screened by the 2nd Louisiana Cavalry. Well, Weitzel understands exactly what he's looking at. There's Confederate artillery in the middle of their line, but either wing looks pretty weak from the Federals that are observing the line. So Weitzel says this is easy. What we'll do is we'll essentially feint on the east bank of the bayou. But while the Confederates think we're going to develop the battle in that direction, we'll rush reinforcements across my makeshift bridge, and then we'll try to turn their flank west of the bayou. That's exactly what he starts to do. Well, the feint in the east verifies everything Weitzel believes, and the feint in the west by the 8th New Hampshire reveals that the Confederates are in fact in a very strong position there. West of Bayou Lafourche, the 8th New Hampshire stepped out smartly from a belt of woods that fronted a open plowed field. At the far end of the field there was a cypress rail fence. Clearly that's where the enemy would be hiding if the enemy was there. Only one way to find out. So the 8th New Hampshire starts across, and sure enough, they are met by an explosion of fire and smoke. Bullets go whipping through the ranks. There's artillery rounds that are bursting overhead. The 8th New Hampshire staggers to a stop. Several men drop. And then the 8th New Hampshire turns around and heads back to the safety of the woods. Clearly, that's where the Confederates had planned to make their stand. Well, while that's going on, the 12th and 13th Connecticut are rushing over from the east bank, crossing the bridge, and falling in behind the 8th New Hampshire. While they're doing that, the Confederates are firing at them, so they've got artillery rounds splashing in the bayou around them, but without much effect. Reinforced, the 8th New Hampshire, the 12th Connecticut, 13th Connecticut, now all step out, kind of in echelon across this same open field. The Confederates are ready for this second advance, and they fire by files, which essentially sends a ripple of gunfire down the length of that fence. So that way one end can be reloaded while the other end is just finished firing, so that they can continue a solid stream of gunfire into the Federals. It has a pretty serious effect. The Federals starting taking pretty serious casualties, but still they come on. And finally, the Confederates, they can tell that they're seriously outnumbered. It may be 3 regiments to 2, but the Federal regiments have 600 to 800 men each. The Confederate regiments only have about 300 men each. So they're outnumbered by about 2-1. The Confederates can see that they're outnumbered. Their fire is not stopping the Union advance, so the Confederates break and run. They also are not being reinforced. primarily because the troops on the other bank of the bayou can't get to them fast enough. They have to go a mile back to the bridge at Labadeville to even come up and support them. So the Confederates west of the bayou break and run, and they all kind of concentrate at Labadeville. There, Alfred Mouton's trying to get them back into some sort of shape, but has figured out that he's lost control, and his Confederates retreat all the way back to Thibodaux. Well, they're still not in any shape to make a stand at Thibodaux, so Mouton orders them back to Brazier City in the banks of Berwick Bay. On October 31st, he even abandons this position because he catches wind that the Federals are also coming up from the Gulf. So they cross over into the Teche country. Sure enough, the Federals are hard on their heels. The naval expedition in from the Gulf lands. Troops come in from Thibodaux and down the railroad tracks. So now Weitzel's army is reunited with all the other troops right there on Tiger Island, and the Confederates have gotten away. So the question is, what do you do next? Clearly you pursue. The 4 light draft gunboats that have come up from the Gulf then head up Bayou Teche, still carrying troops with them, hoping that they can get ahead of the Confederate retreat, maybe hit them again, and destroy their camp of instruction at Bisland. Instead, they're met by the CSS Cotton. On November 3rd, there's a gunboat battle right there in Bayou Teche, up and down that bayou, very narrow stream, and ultimately the Federals decide they can't beat this single half ironclad Confederate gunboat. So they back up to Berwick Bay and decide that, you know what, we've cleared them out of the Sugar Parishes. We did what we came to do. We didn't destroy them. We didn't capture Mouton in that very exposed position, but we have swept them away. So they fall back to Berwick Bay and call it good. In just 1 week, this 1 week campaign, everything had changed in the LaForce district.